The Hall of Famer Roy Williams with us now. Coach, great to see you, and we're so excited to kind of get to talk to you a little bit about the game, about the matchup, all of these things, and especially some stories on Joel Berry. But I want to start with the sweater, though, because what happens to the sweater that you've been wearing? Is it in the wash? Do we even wash it? What happens in between all of these games? Because I know it's superstitious.
You know, I got in the closet and I couldn't find any other sweater, so I've been wearing this one every game for the last few games. But a lot of people are saying we're going to send you another sweater. They can send all they want. I'm still wearing that one, not anymore. But every now and then it gets cleaned, and maybe not. Just depends on whether they're closed on Sundays.
Depends on how lucky it is, right?
That's right.
Coach,
I'm not superstitious. I'm just taking care of the things that I can take care of.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Control what you can control.
You got
right?
it, girl.
It's been just over a year since you made that announcement on April 1st, and to be sitting in the stands yesterday and to experience that moment, what was it like for you?
You know, it was emotional. Really, last weekend in Philadelphia is probably the most emotional time I've ever had on the basketball court, and I've had some great ones and some tough ones. But, you know, a year passed. I miss the coaching desperately. I really do. But that's with the capital B, U, and T. I made the decision for the right reasons. I didn't feel like I was doing it as well as I'd done it in the past. And I'm a little weak, I guess, but I couldn't handle that. I couldn't cheat my school and cheat my players. And always felt like that somebody could be better, but they'd never outwork me, and I'd make up a little bit of the gap there, and I just didn't feel like I was doing it as well. And it's been hard, but gosh, it's been fun. I've seen last summer, saw 6 Little League games, 4 flag football games, 4 dance competitions. So I've done those kind of things with the grandkids, and that's been really, really exciting. And to watch what Coach Davis has done with this team has been phenomenal. I mean, we had some little, some toughness that needed to be checked along the way, and he's got that block checked off pretty well, and had some adversity along the way, but he's just done a great job. And like a second father, I'm sitting up there just so proud of him and the kids also.
What did you see early on with Coach Davis that made you say this guy's going to be the right one to take UNC moving forward?
Well, when we had the coaching opening in 2012 after that season, I wanted Hubert Davis to come and say, I wanted to talk to him, see if he'd be interested in being an assistant coach. He was the last player I recruited as an assistant at North Carolina, and then I left and went to Kansas and never got to coach him. But over those 9 years, I saw a guy that could perhaps be in the contest with me to see who loved North Carolina basketball the most of anybody in the world, and he would be right there with me. His expertise, his care, his passion. He'd been in the NBA for 12 years, so he had been where all our kids want to go. But with each and every year, and Joel was a player too, I just saw him grow more and more and more, and he is this, and it's maybe an oxymoron. He's the nicest person I've ever known in my life, who is fiercely competitive. And for me, that's all I ever wanted. I like that.
Yeah, Coach, to piggyback off that question with Hubert Davis, with Coach Davis, have you given him any advice along the way? You let him just take off and do his own thing? I'm just curious. It's great to see you around the program, even though you stepped away and retired. What pearls of wisdom have you gave HB?
You know, it's a delicate thing with me because my biggest worry is I didn't want to intrude. I didn't want to be some negative. I didn't want to be a hanger-on. I didn't want to be one of those guys that would get in the way. I have a paranoia about it. I didn't want to get in the way, but he has my number. We text back and forth, and we've talked about some things, but I didn't want to be there trying to say do this or do that, or I think if you would do this. And, you know, guys on his staff, most of them played for me.
Yeah.
And but that was the biggest fear, is I was paranoid, and I'm glad I was, because I didn't want to be there. Only 3 times all year did I ever let my guard down in a game. One game, the point guard shoots the ball from 3, and the other two guards stand there watching, and the other team lays it up on the other end. No defensive balance, and I jumped up and slapped my hands. You know better than that, and then realized who I was, and I set my butt back down as quickly as I could. So I had 3 of those during the year, but that was all. But no, Carlos, it was the kind of thing that he knows I'm there, and he knows I love him, and I love the program, and I'd do anything, but I don't want to get in his way.
No, that's special. And I mean, for me, it's great seeing you around the program and, you know, still being there because I feel like Coach Davis needs that. But, you know, I want to know how the retirement has been going, you know, how everything's been going for you. You get to spend more time with my favorite lady after my mom, Wicked Wanda.
Yeah.
So I just want to know how does it, you know, how have you been doing with that? And just, you know, what does it mean for Coach Davis to see you being in the stands?
Well, I've told him I'll be there, regardless of what he wants, what he needs, or anything. I'll be there. Just say so, and I'll drop everything. And he knows that. But I've enjoyed one thing more than any is at the end of, well, two things. One, I don't have to make all those daggum recruiting calls at night. You call a kid and you have to repeat the question 3 times because they're playing video games and stuff like that. I hated the telephone. But other than that, when the team goes off through the tunnel, I go right behind them. I go upstairs. I'm in the car. I'm out on my way home before Hubert gets to the press conference. And I love that, boy. I tell you, so that part was good. But I do miss it, and basketball's been my life. My high school coach was the most influential male to me. He's 82 years old, and I've talked to him 3 times since I got here to New Orleans. And it's the first time I've ever been to a Final Four that he wasn't there. He went to 9 Final Fours with me. But for me, getting away from the game, I really miss it. But I'm 71 years old. I'll be 72 in August, and want to be with my grandchildren. Want to see if I can get the handicap back down there a little bit. I got some guys who have taken my money over the last few years. I want to get it back.
Well, Coach, stick around. We've got more questions for you about what these players mean to you to see them doing it at this level. And then also, of course, the national championship game. We're going to take a quick break. Hello from set, still joined by the Hall of Famer, Coach Roy Williams. And Coach, these are 2 teams that you know a lot about. They're going to be playing tomorrow. Spent 18 years with the Tar Heels and 15 seasons at Kansas. What's it like to see these 2 teams go head-to-head for you?
You know, in most ways it's fantastic. One way it's terrible because it's my 2 favorite teams. There's no question. I mean, yesterday I did something with Steve Lavin, and on one side I had Wayne Simeon, and on the other side I had Christian Laettner. And, you know, it was easy to know who the heck I was going to be pulled for in that game, you know, so kind of thing. And I love Christian, I really do. But, no, the Kansas kids for 15 years took care of me. The athletic director and the chancellor at that time hired me when nobody wanted them to hire me. It was not the choice for anybody to hire me, but they felt good about it and did it. So I love that place, whether it's Jock Vaughn, Wayne Simeon, Nick Collison, Kirk Heinrich, all those guys, Aaron Miles. I'll always love them, and they know that. But the game tomorrow is different. I went to school there. Wanda went to school there. Our 2 children went to school there. My son played there, 18 years there, and everybody on that bench, with the exception of Brady, I recruited Hubert Davis as a player, recruited him as assistant, and pushed very uncomfortably for some people to him to be the head coach. And so that I'm pulling for North Carolina, but I've never pulled for Kansas to lose, and I won't then. I'll just pull for North Carolina to play their tail off, and hopefully I can get that psychologically through my brain.
Obviously a lot of personal family ties to the teams in this Final Four, but do you rank this one any different than the other Final Fours you've been to, just in terms of the atmosphere, the energy that was in the building?
Well, last night, I don't care what anybody says. I don't care if you're Kentucky or Louisville or UCLA. There's no game in the Final Four been like Duke and North Carolina, and I don't care what anybody says. So that atmosphere was really something. But, you know, for me, I love college basketball. I had some chances to go to the NBA, and one guy said, when are you going to try the highest level? I said, I already am.
Yeah.
You know, that kind of thing, and that's the way I felt. But the atmosphere there last night was incredible, and I think it'll be another one for me that it'll be emotional in some ways, but I've never been, as I said, I've never been as emotional as I was in Philadelphia last week.
Coach, I want to ask you, we got Joe Barry on board this year. We stole him from everybody else that was trying to get him. What was it like recruiting Joe and get him to campus and turning him into Big Shot Barry?
Well, Big Shot Barry, he did that with a lot of sweat. And I'm serious, guys. He worked his tail off. But Joel Barry was a guy that I loved. Saw him play the first time, said that's a guy that can be a point guard for me. I love the toughness. It was the kind of thing that when I saw him play, I fell in love with him. I said, I think that Mom and Dad told me pretty quickly that he liked North Carolina a little bit, and so did they. So I tried to suck up to Mom and Dad as much as I could. But it was something that I really enjoyed him as a player, one of the toughest kids. I've talked to you guys off the air about both his ankles swollen, black and blue, when we win the national championship because of his toughness. But I don't know if this is a good time. But one time I had a player say to a point guard, "You didn't have to take that bad shot. I was open." And the point guard said, "Well, I apologize if I missed you." And he didn't miss him. The other guy was an idiot. And I asked this boy, I said, "What would you have said if that guy had said something to you?" And Joel goes, "Joel would have ripped his throat out if somebody said something." But Marcus Page was a little different. Marcus said, "I apologize." But I did. I told him that he's got to turn into a leader, and that's what he did for me, and the toughness. And I'm sitting here today because of guys like Joel Berry.
I appreciate that, Coach.
And he helps you guys a lot.
Yeah.
He's the only North Carolina graduate here, boys.
I was waiting on that, Coach.
That was the story that you gave us when he's here. Now, if he wasn't here, what story could you be telling us about
I can
him?
tell you some of those too.
Yeah, I'm sure you have I'm sure you have a couple. Joel, you want to jump in before he shares them?
No, you go ahead. You share it.
No, with Joel, and I mean this, as coaches, I loved my players, and I loved their toughness.
And that's what that's what it's about. And that's why I wanted to play for this guy. I always, growing up in Florida, I always saw them on TV. I saw him on TV, and my mom was sitting there next to me. And I told my mom, I said, I want to play for him. And I just worked my tail off, and once I got to campus, I knew what type of coach he was, and I knew what type of player I was. But there were so many times when he had to pull me to the side and tell me, like, you can't do that. You have to, there are different ways, and there's ways that you talk to your players, talk to your teammates to be able to get through them. And that was hard for me because I'm a competitor. I'm fierce. And I get it from him, too, because he's fierce. But those are the moments that I remember, because now I use those in my day-to-day life. But you see the emotion there, and that's why I wanted to play for this guy.
It is so sincere. Coach Williams, we really appreciate the time. I know you're soaking it all in and trying to enjoy this moment and what this weekend is. And I know you're so proud of all the guys that are on that bench, and Coach Davis, and just them being on this big stage.
Just understand that when North Carolina plays, and this is nothing against Duke or Louisville or anybody else, it's a family. It's been a family for 50 years or more, and I'm very fortunate to be part of that, and thankful that I've had the guys that made me look good, and I'm appreciative of the fact that they did make me look good.
Well, Coach, we are appreciative of you and your time. Thanks for coming on with us today, and try and enjoy the game tomorrow. Sure be a little stressful.
At the end, if the right team wins.
There you go. There you go.